Can you talk about 2011? I mean,
Yeah.
what is it? The Arab Spring. What is it? People here in America,
Depend, depends on which
Did
side.
something happen or what?
Depends which side of the equation you are. Because for a lot of people, it's a conspiracy. It's American made. It is the Muslim Brotherhood. It's the Islamists. It is Israel. It is everything else other than people. Oh, but it's a pure revolution. It's a pure. I think we put too much weight on conspiracies. I think it is normal human behavior that then get maybe used or abused or taken advantage of by other powers, and then the conspiracy starts. But at the time, the Arab Spring didn't start in Egypt; it started in Tunisia. Bouaziz, a fruit vendor, burned himself up, like the American soldiers who did that a few days ago, and that kind of sparked protests in Tunisia. And Ben Ali was a dictator in Tunisia for about like 20 years, and they removed him. So suddenly it was kind of like a domino effect. So then Egypt started, and it just took 18 days. And people, hindsight is 2020, said like just Mubarak became like a burden on the military, because the military are the real rulers of the country. You might have a president that kind of like have certain powers, but at the end of the day, when the military sees that a certain president is like too much of a burden, too much of like a, so like they cut him off.
And Mubarak is the leader of Egypt
at that time. He was there for 30 years.
30 years. By the way, speaking of which, because it was a joke in your Mark Twain speech, I got teary-eyed just watching that. That was great. You're like fucking great. Like what you did with Mark Twain Awards for Jon Stewart. It's great. I mean, your comedy is great in general, and I wanted to go to your show. I definitely will. But that's like a little stroll in the complete tangent of just a masterful introduction and celebration of Jon Stewart. Anyway, Mubarak.
Yeah. So and it's the joke that I say also, like Mubarak was a president for 30 years. Like, oh my God, you had a president for 30 years. Like, it's the Middle East. It's a very short first term. It's just like we're still warming up, baby.
Still warming up.
and I told them, like, we need to plan ahead. We need to plan our vacations, our careers, our jail time. It's just like we need to.
It's great.
So
it's true.
So we had kind of like the shortest, nicest revolution, 18 days.
Yeah.
And we thought, 18 days, we can change the country in 18 days. So, but of course we were naive, and we had this kind of hope. So Mubarak was removed. There was an interim period by the military, took it for 1 year. Then they did elections. Muslim Brotherhood came to power. They stayed for one year, and then the military removed them. And in these 3 years, my show started. It started by kind of like a YouTube video.
It became famous overnight.
Yeah. 5 to 6 videos, boom, went out. And at that time, I was waiting to get my clearance to go to Cleveland. I already accepted in a fellowship as a pediatric heart surgery in a hospital in Cleveland. And I said, like, all right, I'm just going to do a couple of videos. Maybe I'm going to put it on the internet. And maybe after a year or two, after I come back from the fellowship, somebody will come, hey, why don't you write a show that looks like Jon Stewart? That was my mind. Took 5 weeks. I had my first contract of television. And overnight, the exposure. And over the next 2-3 years, I had 30 to 40 million people watching every episode. A lot of people like, wow, that's too much. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because it means that there are 30 million people who have an opinion about you.
Yeah. You said there's a lot of aspects of that sudden fame that were just horrible.
It's toxic. It's unnatural. When people started to recognize me in the street and take pictures, I was awkward. It's like, why do you want to have a picture with me? Yeah. Why is it? Because I didn't feel that I'm worthy enough to be like a reward for someone to have a picture. And I didn't understand it. I was kind of an ass sometimes, because people thought it was arrogance. No, it was confusion. And I remember like my director and my producers and people around, they always saw me in a very bad mood. It's like, why are you not enjoying this? It's like, because this is not natural. This is not natural. This adoration, this love, and this have to end somehow. And it did. And because at a certain point, you are human. And people kind of, the adoration and the fun and the love comes because they see you saying stuff, because you do your job, basically. Political satire is basically us making fun of politicians in the media. And a lot of people have really strong opinions about politicians and the media. So we came that, we articulate that, and we give it to them and we make them laugh. So for them, we made a great job. So why don't you do more? But you are limited. And at a certain time, you can't. And at a certain time, you're afraid because we're humans. Because you're afraid about, like, if I continue speaking up, not like something will happen to me. I'm kind of like maybe have some protection because people see me. But what are people around you? And I've seen that. So that's why at a certain point, it's like, that's it. I can't.
I mean, there's a lot of things to say there, but one of the difficult things of fame in your situation is you're not just having fun, you're criticizing power.
Yeah. And it is loved by the people, but it comes with a price, because at a certain if the power is too strong and you're not into a situation or a system that allows that gives you that kind of safety.
So what happened?
What happened? So the height of my fame, when the Muslim Brotherhood was in power, and at that time they had their media, and I had one show. I had like 1 hour per week, and they had 5 channels, 24/7, and they were like, I'm basically, Jon Stewart said it beautifully once. It's like, we say shit and you say shit, and we just say shit better than you. This is exactly what Jon Stewart was like. We're just better at saying shit back at you.
Yeah.
So basically, I had 1 hour, and they had like the 5 things that they were like, they're calling me all kinds of names, not just me, like all their enemies, And then I just had 1 hour, and I would kind of like annihilate them in 1 hour a week. So at a certain point, they would even like kind of be side with the army against the kind of the liberal seculars, whatever you call it. And at a certain point, the army kind of like flipped everybody.
What do you mean?
Like kind of like they removed the Muslim Brotherhood. They came to power, and I have to say, I admit it. I supported that in the beginning because I had daily threats. I was actually interrogated and arrested under the Muslim Brotherhood. I was in an interrogation for 6 hours, and they were asking me about my jokes, and I used that in my stand-up comedy, describing exactly what happened in the 6 hours, and it is so funny.
Okay, well, it's hilarious. But what? Slow down. You were interrogated by the Muslim Brotherhood,
the general prosecutor, and it was based because of complaints by the officials in the government, because in order for the general prosecutor to do it, it has to have a high up mandate to bring that person to questioning.
So they went through kind of official channels.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's all
it was official. It was legal,
very legal.
So I went there and I asked, and it's kind of like a bunch of like insulting Islam, insulting president, spreading false rumors. And I went there and it was funny because I go into the building where there's police officers and their judges, and all of them are big fans of the show. And some of them were taking pictures of me. And then I'm sitting there, and it was the most ridiculous interview ever, because he was asking me about my jokes. It's like, what did you mean by this joke? And it's like, nothing. And it was there for 6 hours.
He's just reading.
He was reading my joke, and he's reading the jokes, and the junior judge is sitting there, like cracking up. It's like, oh, I remember that. It's like, guys.
That's dark.
It's kind of like, and I'm laughing, but in the same time, it's like the whole situation is ridiculous. But then at the end, I was released on bail, so I went back to my show, and I make fun of that. And you have to be honest, the Muslim Brotherhood were in power, but Egypt were like right out of the revolution. There was kind of like an equal spread of power between the people. There was not like someone who would come in and just like the Muslim Brotherhood didn't have that power yet, but they were kind of. People saw that they were moving towards that. And then the tension rose, and then there was like a kind of a confrontation between them and the army, and then a lot of people were killed in the street. It was a terrible massacre. And then suddenly I am blamed for all of that. It's like, you made fun of us, so now it made it easier for people to kill us. Like, dude, come on. You're doing that to me too. I just did it better than you. And the fact that you sided with the same people that flipped against you, that's not my fault.
Did you criticize the army at all?
So after that show, I did like 1 episode against the army, and I was canceled the next day. And then I went to another channel, did 16 episodes in a different season, and I was walking on eggshells. And then that was canceled again. And then the production company that was doing my show, that we severed ties because we didn't have the show. They had their offices raided. I have people like having death threats. So I woke up one day, 11th of November 2014, and my lawyer said, like, leave the country right now. There is this legal case that they kind of like, they're coming for you. But I said, like, you cannot. It was an arbitration case, and I lost against my the channel that basically canceled me. And it's like, and I told him, but there's no jail time in arbitration. It's like, yeah, tell that to the judge, just leave. So I jumped on a plane. The verdict was 12 noon, 11 November, 5 afternoon. I was on a plane, left Egypt, and I never came back since then.
Was there a worry of non-legal things like assassination?
I can tell you something. I was so stressed because of the show, because of everything. Sometimes I would wake up in the morning and I hope that a bullet will come and finish everything because I was so stressed. It's like I would love, because I'm too much of a chicken to kill myself. So I would like rather have someone else do it for me. So I was so under so much pressure. And I remember the day that like my show was canceled indefinitely, the second time under the army. And I was like, I don't have to worry about what kind of script I have to write next week. Because this is, remember when you asked me about like that tweet, about like all of those accusations doesn't bother me. Infidel, spy, secret Jew, Zionist, Islamo-Nazi, that's bullshit. What really leaves a mark is the criticism to your craft and your work. So you're not funny. Goes deeper.
Yeah, certain things get to you better than others, especially if you have like a secret suspicion that you are like maybe not funny.
Maybe I'm not, because I was put into that. It's like, because that talks to your insecurities. It's like, I know, but you shouldn't say it out loud.
You shouldn't say the truth out loud.
You shouldn't say it out loud. Like, give it to yourself.
But what about the weight of the responsibility of speaking truth to power? Sort of like walking on eggshells. Like, what did that feel like?
Well, after the Muslim Brotherhood were removed, you have to understand, like, when the military coup happened, it was a very popular coup. Mm-hmm. Like, people loved the army. In Egypt, the army is more sacred than the religion. People love the army, but the army can go no wrong. So me going against the army was, the Muslim Brotherhood was not very popular. They were popular for their own basis. Mm-hmm. But people accepted the fact that, like, we make fun of them. But Sisi at that time, he was a god. And I used to go to this high-class club called Gezira Club. Mm-hmm. And this is basically kind of like the kind of upper middle class, upper class kind of people. Mm-hmm. And during that year of the Muslim Brotherhood, I was the most popular ever. People come, yeah. When the military came in, people were walking to me like pointing their fingers like, don't speak about Sisi, don't speak about the army. Huh? We love you now, but don't you do it like that. So I called Jon Stewart. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And at that time, all of the channels were like closed down. All of the independent voice. I was the only one left because it was difficult for them to get rid of me very quickly because I was too popular. It was kind of like piecemealing, kind of like go. And I remember, I was like, I don't know what to do. He said, like, you don't have to do anything. Just your safety comes first. And he said, but I can't. I've been doing that for 2 years, and I cannot just like say, bye-bye, guys. I have a responsibility. I have a team. I have people working for me. And I cannot just like disappear. And he said the most interesting thing ever. And say, if you're afraid of something, make fun about the fact that you're afraid of it instead of talking about that something.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So there was like a whole episode that we did not even mention Sisi. We did not even mention it, but the videos did all the thing. Mm-hmm. And the whole episode was me trying to avoid talking about him. Mm-hmm. And that how the comedy was created. Mm-hmm. The fact that I don't want to be here, and then I don't. So he said, like, if you will be surprised how people can relate to that, because there was a lot of kind of like, oh, we love him, but we feel we cannot speak. Mm-hmm. So just by doing the simple thing about mirroring the society, that goes a long way. And I kind of tried to do what I can under the military. I mean, they came up with a machine that treats AIDS and hepatitis C virus and basically every single, and I went to town with that because people think it doesn't really have to go to the bigger powers like you're an asshole. No, you talk about their propaganda. You talk about what they want people to perceive them at, and it's a failure. And for that kind of hit them even more, because what do authoritarian figures do? They work on two things: fear and propaganda, and from that it gets the respect. So when you go into their propaganda and expose them, they have nothing else.
That's brilliant. So like you are walking on eggshells, but you're doing it masterfully. That you're revealing sort of the flaws in the propaganda, the absurdity of the propaganda, and in so doing are criticizing them.
And this is why comedy is very specific, because people say you were not as hard on him as you were in the Muslim Brotherhood. Like, yes, because under Muslim Brotherhood we were like just like saying shit for each other.
Yeah.
But now the ceiling was like here. So it's kind of like, how can you do something from here?
Yeah, exactly. That's the art form. Yeah, in the Soviet Union under Stalin, a lot of the criticism came from like children's stories and children's cartoons.
Double meaning, double innuendo stuff that means other stuff. That is that's the brilliance.
Yeah. But everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
Because you are like putting a mirror, like you're mirroring the society. It's fascinating, actually.
And that's why I was canceled twice.
And that is a scary one, the army. You see that in Ukraine. Yeah. Everybody supports the army. Mm-hmm. That's why Zelensky getting rid of the head of the army was a big deal. Mm. It's a really dangerous thing because everyone's afraid to say anything negative about the army, especially during war. In that case, and in this case, maybe there's civil war, that kind of thing.
But think about it. Actually, an army during peace is much more dangerous. Because think about it. I don't really have an enemy to fight, but I have all of this power, all of this tank. Why does this actor have more money than me?
Yeah.
I'm protecting him. Why does this businessman think that he can get on his private plane and go to Paris? Mm-hmm. And why I'm here sitting, like not having all of these things? So, and there's a lot of time on your hand because your job is to go fight. When you don't go fight, and when you have the lack of, that's one of the things I love the United States about, is the fact that the army cannot really get power, but they kind of like, the power is actually in the military industrial complex, which is a different issue.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a different kind of issue. But if you have all of that power, like, why am I sitting around just like, playing guard for you guys?
That's why Iran is terrifying, because you have this military that it just becomes a police force that turns against its own people.
Yeah.
So you're a famous guy talking shit in the middle of all that.
Yeah, and when I left, I went through a very dark side, dark, because all of the insecurities, all of the stuff that had been like working on my head now came to life, and now I'm in America and I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
I'm a nobody. And now it's like, I'll have to do something, I have to earn some money. So I started to do stand-up comedy 5 years ago. Yeah. And I sucked because it was my second language and I was new. And now I would go to these comedy clubs with like kids on 21, 22 people. And then I'm there with a family to support, and I'm going there to doing it for $15, $20. And I was bad.
You're bombing?
Bombing big time.
Eating shit
big time. Dying up there big time. And I would go back home and I would cry. And then what made it worse is sometimes like a fan. Yeah. Like not a fan, a bunch of fans from Egypt. Like, oh, Bassem Youssef, they come. Like,
and
there's disappointments on there. That kind of like face of adoration that goes into and I could see it in their face. I think he's gonna drive an Uber in a couple of weeks. That kind of pressure, and I would go and I would cry, and then the central, oh, you left, you gave up, you were a sellout, you're a coward. Why don't you speak from abroad? You're safe now. It's like I already spoke. I don't want to be, because I don't want to be an activist. I was doing that for comedy when it was good for everybody. But now they want me to go into YouTube and just like throw rocks from outside. And it's like, I understand. I have family there. And it was, this kind of like thing like that, I am being like attacked for not doing what I should do in their face, and attacked for not being funny and not doing good being. And now I'm a fan like maybe it was wrong, and I don't know. I really, it was so traumatic that I don't know actually how I went through these years, and I blocked so many details from my brain because I have been using this technique for a while now, that I have been erasing a lot of there is a lot of memory gaps in my brain, and I'm trying to suppress it because it was very, very, very traumatic. And a lot of people told me you have to go to therapy, but I don't, I don't know. I'm worried to open the floodgates, and I'm thinking as if as I'm functional and I'm not killing anybody, I'm okay.
It's like I think Elon tweeted, "Never went to therapy." It's going to be on my headstone.
Yeah.
Terry, you're our best buds. Okay. I mean, that is like terrifyingly difficult to, like, after being a surgeon, after being a superstar, super famous, going to eat shit at local tiny clubs in the United States. I mean, eating shit, period.
Yeah.
Like, bombing is really, really, really difficult. Really difficult for 20-year-olds.
Imagine when you're 45, 46, and then people's like, is this his midlife crisis? What is this? I went through a lot of pain and a lot of like the doubts, and it was terrible.
I mean, how did you survive? I mean, I know you blocked off most of it, but what gave you like strength through all that?
Because I didn't have any other choice. Because I started that, and the only reason that I could is to continue. I don't know what else to do. I don't want to go back to medicine. I don't want to go. I don't want to do that. And I don't know. And bit by bit, I started to kind of like be better. And I was at a certain time a year ago. This is where I started to kind of like hone the craft and kind of sell more tickets, and sometimes even sell out some shows, and sometimes sell a theater. So like it was going, and the money was flowing, and it was good. And then I was like, why didn't I wanted faster, I wanted more, I wanted now, I want Netflix deal or whatever. And then the Piers Morgan thing happened, and then I blew up, and then suddenly I'm selling out everywhere. And it's like, if those people came, if the war happened 2 years ago, I will not be ready. So now they come to the show, and by the way, my show had nothing to do with October 7th. My show is my thing that I've been crafting and working on. You know how difficult it is to do the first hour, the hour that I've been working on for 5 years. And it's all my personal story. All what happened to me in Egypt, me as an immigrant coming here to the United States, finding Trump as a president, finding myself in the middle of a guns rally, finding myself in the middle of a bombing, kind of like talking about how I got my citizenship. It's all like funny stories about like my origin story. So they come in and they expect October 7th, and all of this is my personal story, but it's good and it kills and they love it. And it's like if that kind of like blew up in America happened to me 2-3 years ago, I would not have people who come and be disappointed.
I gotta say, the timing of October 7th is very suspicious.
Oh my God! Please don't say that.
I don't know. I'm just asking questions. I don't know.
I'm telling you, one of the funniest thing. A guy, I was in Dubai, and like a TV anchor came to me. Bassem Youssef, he flourishes during revolutions and wars. Like, wait, what, dude? You're making me sound like a bad omen, a very bad omen.
Yeah, you, Hamas, and Bibi together orchestrated all of this.
Oh my God, that's the trilogy.
You guys should go on the road together. I'm telling you, that phone call is coming.
Yeah, but Hamas has to open.
And they would really bomb, right?
They would really bomb.
Oh, I love dark humor.